Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here, and now, before we do start, let's give a brief little review. In the last part, a number of events have happened. We had Deku. Deku is 19 years old. He's been through a lot in his life, and he went out to lunch with Bakugo and Kai after they went on patrol. He told them the update on his situation right now. The two were both very surprised. The future is coming sooner than expected. And Deku, he got a message from Azimuth asking if he was free to talk. He's been avoiding it for a few days, but he finally decided to talk to Azimuth. Azimuth talked about a way to track down malware, using the secondary helix he absorbed years ago. If it is still active, they can track its signal, potentially find leads on where he either is, has been, or might be going to. They need information. They have a lack of that right now, and it is a big universe. With 3 organizations tracking him down, there's not a lot of places for him to hide, but it will take time. There are parts of the galaxy that the plumbers don't go to, that the incursions and tetramans can. However, that is still a big area to search. Now, Izuku, he also discovered a link between malware and his connection to Vilgax's technology. He ordered the remains of Vilgax to be destroyed. And during his conversation with Azimuth, he found out a few things. Malware was created and given a unique circumstance. He became bitter and hateful. The galvanic mechamorph was designed to understand things, upgrade, and be a part of a project he had for sentient life. Eunice was considered a prototype for the Omnitrix, but also a prototype for creating life like this. She was an entirely different blueprint, however. The Omnitrix allows you to walk a mile in another species' body, if not their skin, but that sounds weirder. Eunice, he had fears of her becoming bitter, hateful, and resentful. She has programming. However, she did not follow that programming because she chose to ignore it. That Azimuth feared, but malware, him and Eunice are flipped in his mind. He thought she'd become bitter and hateful, but she's kind and sweet. She is creating life. And that had Azimuth reconsidering many of his prior projects in the past. Malware was given the short end of the stick when it came to his own creation. But instead of trying to grow, learn, and adapt to it, he did not like it. He was mad, angry, wrathful. And this led him down a dark path. Azimuth, however, did tell Izuku. He is reconsidering a lot of things about Eunice and her situation. After much that he has built, she is the only thing he's seen that has shown compassion the way she has. And, well, experiencing life as a human. It has done her a lot of good, at least in his mind. She's happy. He forgot of his own happiness years ago. He just let go of it, that idea. But now, it's interesting to watch. See how this life does develop. And with that, Deku, he had a lot to do. Right now, after turning over the data Azimuth gave him after a few days, the organizations began to work on trying to find malware. And Deku himself, he made the choice to leave Earth for the time being. Malware is after him, and the search, it'll take time. It could be hidden for decades, even centuries, if it does come down to it. Malware might have a plan to take over the universe. He's got time on his side. Deku, in the grand scheme of things, may not. So yeah, hunting this guy down after he's been gone for years is the best possible option. And Izuku, he began to do that. We currently have about 6 months later. Deku, he spent 3 of those months out in space searching. However, he got wrapped up in a lot more things out there. Space travel searching a planet and the oceans, helping out and moving on. Izuku Midoriya, the life of a hero. It never stops. However, right now he's back on Earth. Him as Accelerate, staying there as he's a zoom to the left. Him telling Trumbipular about how he really should just stop. At this point, he's going easy on him. Though if he does want to, actually fight, then how about he comes back down here? After all those peanuts, it's not that fair. You want fair? Like I'll give you that. Him firing his trunk. And Deku, he has a turn zooming to the right. Currently, him turning a lodestar and flying up into the air. Him going to send a shipping container flying directly at Trumbipular as there's a smash him directly in the chest. Him taking a step backwards as he has to balance himself back out. Currently, him going to stand there large and massive. A ship behind him. And Deku, he has been to start firing off the shipping containers directly at Trumbipular. 5 of them smashing directly into his chest as he's moving backwards. And Deku, he has a stare at that, flying upwards and smashing into the massive Elephant Man's head. Him toppling over and falling through the ship. Currently, him creating a massive wave as he does go splash down. Currently, down into the ocean. And Deku, he does a stand up. Currently, flying upwards into the air and thinking about a few things. Okay. He's got a second before Trumbipular gets back on his feet. So, the area is already evacuated, but this is definitely going to be something. Him looking down and giving it a second. Trumbipular going to get out of the water and bring his hand down. Going to stand there and look at the ship. Him alarmed because the peanuts are beginning to float away. Trying to scoop up a handful before turning. Him not seeing Deku. Before he has a look up after seeing a massive flash in the air. And Deku, he is currently way big. Him flying down and bringing his hands up. Before he has to pull his hand back and smash Trumbipular directly in the face. Him going to move backwards as Deku does some smashing forwards. And run through the water. Bring his fist up and punching him directly in the chest. The elephant moving backwards further. Before he has to bring his hands up and go to throw out his trunk. Deku stepping forwards and bringing up his left hand, grabbing that trunk and aiming it towards the sky before uppercutting Trumbipular directly in the throat. Him going to bring his hand up and grab him by his shirt, throwing him over his head and smashing him back down into the water. And Deku, he does a stand there, going to still hold the trunk as I pull him up and express, if he is going to continue, then this is going to be a problem. Though he is able to give up. And Trumbipular, he does try to fire at Deku, bring his hands up and hitting Deku in the leg. For Izuku, he has to move forwards and let go, backing away to let the guy back up onto his feet. Get onto his feet and express moving forwards. Deku bring his hand up and tapping onto the Ultimatrix. Throw inside Trumbipular does a throw his fist and smash it into Deku. And Deku, he has him moving backwards. Currently, him smashing onto the land before he has to sit there. And the elephant moves forwards, talking about how he might have gotten bigger, but just because of that doesn't mean he's going to win. And Deku does not bring his hands up, as if he's going to surrender, expressing to him, he's right, but maybe he's not going to. Bring his hands up and going to cross them for firing directly at Trumbipular with a laser. And the elephant is sent flying backwards and directly through the water. Before Deku does watch it move backwards and further out into the ocean. Before he does begin to stop firing. Him going to get back to his feet and look out there. And he's okay. Too heavy to swim, maybe. Okay, so right. Him transforming, turning his squid lift and flying over the ocean. Before Deku, he does go look down, looking for his mind. Whenever he doesn't see it, he does go to transform into Ripjaws. Him moving down into the water as he is being to swim fast, finding Trumbipular shrunken down, moving back up to the surface and then transforming again. Him flying the two back to land and making sure he's still alive. He's stable. And Izuku, he does at least make sure he's okay before he is ready to go into the Plumber HQ and tell them what happened. It's definitely been eventful. The last 6 months have been something interesting. I'm going to turn as he's going to check the time on his badge and then going to close everything, putting his badge away and going to turn to accelerate before he's going to zoom away thinking about it. Okay. Let's see. Kendo and Eunice are still doing fine. Mina's okay. No leads there, but right. So Luma and Atea, those two are they're definitely going to be out of commission for a second. Though he's got to get to the museum. It's a big thing. He's going to be late? Maybe he's going to be late, but they'll understand. Right. Kai invited them out there because it's an interesting thing. They invited him out here, and it's going to be weird? Definitely weird. He won't be left alone. Okay. Maybe it'll be good, though. Maybe. Eunice wanted to check it out, so he definitely has to take pictures. That's going to be him going to slide to a stop before he just stand there and people do just stare at him, currently as accelerate. And Deku, he does have humans and aliens alike come running up to him excited. Him trying to at least tell them all about what's happening before he does go turn human. And Deku, he does have somebody walk up to him, since they're happy to announce the museum's opening along with his presence here, since that might make attendance skyrocket. Now, Deku, he does not walk over. Currently, him going to stand there with Kai, Mina, and Bakugo. And Kai, she is talking about a lot of things. Currently, her looking through a brochure as people are crowding around Deku. Him still having a bit of a meet and greet and taking some pictures. It is a turn, asking Kai if there's anything interesting here. You know, aside from just what relics they might have in Plumber database. Oh, I think there was one exhibit here. Not really too sure, though. Might not be on public display. Really? And my turn. Bring his hand over someone's shoulder and taking a picture with them. Before he's a turn back. Talking about it. Is she really sure? Because if it's not on public display, then why is it on the brochure? It's not. I looked through Plumber records. A lot of stuff passed through them. Plus, they had us kind of get it back. You gotta think, though. This is the type of stuff that happened back in the day, like, before all of us. You know, ancient cultures, meeting aliens, being influenced by them, how it affected Earth. It's like, how much of our technology is based on what they left? Deku, gonna turn. Talking about how what they left behind didn't really affect them a lot, did it? Did it? Besides, most of that stuff is really old. It probably doesn't even function still. Her turning and wanting to say something to Izuku. However, a lot of the stuff here, it's over 2 millennia old. If it did still function, that just says something about the design. But even then, a lot of advanced civilizations back then would be where Earth might be now. So yeah, it is a possibility. 2,000 years ago, the Tetramans could have been still fighting wars with each other on their planet. They might have had some advanced technology, but maybe not a lot. Then again, a lot can be said about many species in the universe. And Deku, here's a turn. Him bringing his hand up around Mina, asking her how she's been doing. I've been okay. Though, are we sure coming out here today is good? Worst thing happens. I already handled Trimbicular. He's been assigned for pickup. Along with that, everything else has just been a little bit more minor crime. Yeah, but but weren't you the one saying we should relax every now and again? Getting a little bit more serious, Miss Authority. Shut up. See, there it is. I know. I'm just a bit worried. Haven't there been some scares, though? There's been a lot of scares. Though, if anything does happen, I'm ready for it. Trust me, Mina. If there's anything that needs my attention, I'm the first one to alert. If I need to fly half across the universe, I got Jet Ray. It'll definitely take me a few minutes, but I shouldn't be too far behind. Seriously? So what do you do most of the time out there? Deal with threats mostly. Tried tracking them down, but didn't really find a lead. I thought I found something, but maybe it was a plant. You found a plant? No, no, Bakugo. It was. I went to an old lab. It looked abandoned, but I can definitely tell he was there at some point. Then again, I just found this weird thing. What weird thing? It's already in plumber custody. It doesn't really matter. I'm gonna turn. And I have one. They do the hidden side. However, we do currently cut out to space. There has been somebody who has been waiting for this day. They believe they are ready to move in and take them on. And a ship currently flies into the solar system. It looking very familiar. And some people, they do get to turn their orbital scanners that way. Since this craft, it's not one they're familiar with. It's definitely something else. It looks like it's. No. Then I'm going to turn and begin to send out alerts about this unidentified craft. They're trying to hail the vessel, but they're not getting anything back. And there currently is where a massive blast is sent out, them having their vessel explode. And this, it is going to send warnings to the plumber system, as right now a Tetraman ship does move in to attack. And there's just something just come flying out of the ship. Currently, it's moving fast and being ready. As right now, there actually is back on Earth. Deku is unaware to this threat. Right now, the Empires, they are trying to handle it. They are trying to deal with it because they don't think it to be that big of a deal. Space crime is always there. They deal with smugglers and have encounters. But this, it's not one they were ready for. Especially because they are going to be wiped out incredibly fast. And there actually is about an hour later. Deku's been looking around the museum. A few thoughts in his mind, and trying to understand this all. He's going to be a dad. 20 years old, and after everything he's learned, Eunice is having twins. So that does sort of explain those two kids, maybe. Azimuth is a bit more chilled out. Kendo's dad is still a little bit of a hard ass, but he can understand it. The two have tried to talk. He wants to talk to when he came back to Earth. And then there's Luma and Atea. They're going to have heirs to their empires. Yeah. He's been able to manage these relationships. He's got a lot going through his head, though. He guesses Caesar probably asked Manny how life was for him growing up. Not sure how an incursion hybrid works, but that's definitely something. Hmm. Maybe he should meditate when he gets home. Try and work on it a bit more. Learn more about magic. It definitely does help. Though with the Ultimatrix, it does make him question a lot. Deku going to turn. Currently going to snap out of his phase as he does go to move back over with Mina in the group. Them talking about it. He's just saying, that one didn't look that good. What was it supposed to be anyways? Oh, they say it's supposed to be an instrument. Really? Yeah, it's supposed to be. All their badges beginning to buzz. And Deku, he does go to bring up the Ultimatrix, pressing a button as he does, beginning to see a hologram, along with hearing a voice. We have something very bad going on. Right now in the upper Earth's orbit, there's an unknown thing heading towards us. It's not a ship, but we have organic life signs. Deku looking at that. Before he does go stare on. And it does begin at least give the trajectory of this unknown craft, unknown entity. And Deku, he does say it's going to crash land in... No way. I'm going to turn. And whenever everyone does a look at him, they do see his expression. As right now, Vilgax goes smashing back down in the same park he battled Izuku in a long time ago. And he does a stand there. His body glowing with energy. And him as an entirely new being. Him standing onto his feet and going to scream out in a massive voice about how he is here to challenge Izuku Midoriya. Now, Izuku, here's a stare on, and Vilgax just bring his hand up. Currently, him seeing a blast out and down a city block, as is a cut through the entirety of the street, ripping it apart and beginning to explode. And Deku stares at that. Whereas I turn to accelerate and turn. Him zooming away as Mina as I turn her head, trying to bring her hand up to Izuku. And Deku, he already is on the move. Currently, him going to have time crawl to a standstill. Him moving directly towards the area. Thinking about it a lot. Vilgax is alive? How? No. He's been upgraded. That's not good. And there is currently Mina. Mina brought her hands up, and she told the two about what to do. They need to begin evacuations. They need to get everything sorted out. She's going to go help Izuku take on Vilgax. Though, this is personal. Her going to turn full anodite, and going to teleport away. And Kai and Bakugo do both stand there. Him turning, and going to yell out that everybody needs to get the hell out of here, now. Him holding up his badge and expressing about how the entire city might be in danger. And people, they do stare at him. As Bakugo, he does go to radio into the plumbers to tell them what to do. And a lot of people, they do begin to evacuate. Not thinking it's that serious. But we do currently have over with Vilgax. Vilgax is beginning to walk through the park, remembering their last battle, their last encounter, and how it didn't sit well, the results. He would have been killed had that traitorous little bastard Siphon not stepped in. He still needs to hunt him down, find out where he is hiding, find the hole he crawled into, and light a fire inside of it. Bury it up and let him burn. That is what he needs to do for Siphon. Wring his little neck and mount his head as a trophy. That's what he's got to do. And there's Izuku, who currently he has come running in and he doesn't see Vilgax. Vilgax going to hear a sound and begin to turn his head. Before Humongosaur immediately does a clock him across the face, and Deku, he does go moving forwards. Vilgax going to fly backwards as is stop in the air, and Deku does still carry all the momentum with him. Him going to leap forwards and bring his hands up, before grabbing Vilgax and smashing him directly down onto the ground, beginning to grow in size as he throw his fist backwards and clog Vilgax directly in the face. And currently Deku, he has to throw left, right, over and over again down to Vilgax, for bringing his hands over his head, for Vilgax does a blast out directly at Deku's face. Him being shot in the eyes as Deku does it send flying off of Vilgax. Him hitting the ground before he does a roll. Deku transforming as it turned into Echo Echo. And Vilgax does stand there. Before he has to get up and express about how the human does seem to be pissed. And Deku stares at him before telling Vilgax he thought he killed him. He'll be honest. He would have liked it if he just stayed dead. You see, when you speak like that, I can understand you. Though, I have been through quite a lot of things. Mina teleporting in, and Vilgax turns to sit to stare at Anodite, since that is the next power he wants to absorb. There are many in the universe he wants to take. Izuku holds the key to many powerful transformations, but there's one inside that Omnitrix he needs if he wants to be a true conqueror. If he wants to truly reshape this universe within his very image. And Deku, he does stare at Vilgax, telling him he's not going to go easy on him anymore. For a decade, he's come back. A decade too long. Him transforming into Ultimate Echo Echo. When Vilgax stares on, Deku going to turn to Mina, and Mina does it to cast a spell. Vilgax staying there, as right now he has a turn. Before he does it to feel gravity increase on him once more. Him gonna fall forwards as Deku does gonna bring his hands up. Him going to create disc as he's gonna fly around Vilgax, one above him, and a few scattered around him. Deku stepping forwards, before bringing his hand up and expressing Sonic Doom! And Vilgax is encased in an entire bubble of sound. Currently, him bringing his hands up and covering his ears. As he has a scream out, and Deku, he does increase the vibrations. The ground underneath Vilgax beginning to crack, and the area Deku is in, it does begin to suffer from this. And Mina does go flying up into the air, as Vilgax does sit there. Before he does go to fully stand up and bring his hands up. Him going to begin to scatter electricity all around the area as the disc do begin to explode. And Deku does go flying backwards up into the air. Him going to look down at Vilgax as he's flying up. Him bringing his hand up as he is to send out a fireball directly to Izuku. And Deku opens his mouth to scream. Currently, him going to blast out at Vilgax as he's sent flying backwards. Him sending out laser eyes as Deku does it to watch on. And Vilgax, he does go to stare. Deku turning in a big chill as he's going to go ultimate. Him then going to fly directly at Vilgax. And Vilgax, whenever Deku's to fly through him, he has a turn. As right now, he's to throw his hand and is going to elongate. Him going to stare on. As Deku, he does feel this thing wrap around his leg and he's to turn confused. Before feeling electricity hit him. And Deku, he has to blast at Vilgax as the fire does cover Vilgax's face. It then going to freeze over as Deku, he has to throw his leg down and begin to go intangible. Vilgax's arm lighting on fire as it turns to ice. And Deku does it transform again. Currently, him turning into Chromostone, bringing his hands up and blasting Vilgax. And Vilgax is sent flying backwards, smashed down to the ground. Him going to get back up as Deku stares at this. Fire, electricity, and he touched him while he was intangible. But no, that doesn't make sense. How? Vilgax going to express, that hurt like hell, but he's still in one piece. He'll notice, a friend of his gave him upgrades. He can thank those little parasites they took. Then again, he has a lot of parasites to get rid of. Him bringing his hand up, and Deku does begin to feel gravity increasing around him. Him going to begin to move downwards as Deku's just smashed onto the ground. And Vilgax, he does get stare on. Before Deku, he does have a click in his mind. Exactly what Vilgax did. Mina does get to bring her hands up, her flying forwards at incredible speed. Him gonna turn and bring his hand to Mina as she's to bring her hand up and clock Vilgax in the face. Her bring her hands up as he's sent flying, casting a spell as a tornado is going to rip through the air. Vilgax being forced up as right now he is a turn. Currently, him going to let out a sonic scream. And this, it does it to counter the tornado. And Mina does not fly backwards a lot more alarmed. And Deku, he has to transform again. Currently, him going to transform directly into Spider Monkey. And Deku, he is trying to think of another strategy. Echo, Heat Blast, maybe Swamp Fire, and then, shit, Gravitax, Power. But the electricity, Amphibian, Buzz Shock maybe, but okay, that's bad. That's really bad. What else does he have? Then Deku's mind. And right now, there is where Vilgax expresses. He is not the only one here, though he might want to check in with his allies. Him beginning to grow in size. And Deku does stare at this. Currently, Mina flying backwards and bringing her hands up, blasting at Vilgax. And Vilgax does begin to take the attack. Before he has to bring his hands up and send out a powerful blast. Him continuing to grow. And Deku sees him go past the size of Humongosaur. And this does not look good. Now, Mina's flying backwards. Before there is Izuku, who does gonna turn directly into an Anandite. He himself beginning to feel his power overflow with anger. And Deku sends a massive blast directly up at Vilgax. And Vilgax, he does just stand there, taking the attack as Mina's a blast at him as well. And they do begin to radio in. Because the plumbers, they are having a lot happen right now on the planet Earth. But let's cut it currently out to space. The ship Vilgax flew away from. The Tetraman vessel that attacked. It was all left there. Floating debris. And Malware, he made his move. He began to eat the technology, take it over and absorb it. And he made his way to the space station currently orbiting the planet Earth. One of the many plumber, airspaces they control. And whenever he got there, he crashed himself directly into the station. And the plumbers, they had all hands on deck. Malware has returned to Earth, and humans, all species on the planet, are currently in danger from these two attacking. Now, there currently is Mina, who does get some communications from her badge. It expressing about how currently there's a situation in orbit. Her turning, before it turning back to Deku. And Deku is still flying backwards. Before he does bring his hand into the Omnitrix and tap onto it. Currently him being to radiate a glow. Him glowing green as right now he does gonna see the Ultimatrix form. Deku being to let out a massive burst of power as he's to stand there. His body leaking pure mana. Emina can feel it. That's the same type of pressure she felt from Verdona. And Deku brings his hand up as he sends a massive blast. Vilgax being sent flying through the city as Guardians are smashing down half a block away. And Deku, he just stand there before bringing his own hand up to his self. Pure mana. Pure mana indeed. As Deku, he is going to look up. His eyes gonna glow as his hair does extend. Amina stares on. For Deku's body, it does gonna rip apart. And it is a flying directly down the air towards Vilgax. Her turning back and expressing. Deku's handling Vilgax right now. He's the size of way big. But what's going on? Them expressing to her. The orbital station is currently falling into orbit. And Malware is trying to absorb it. He's already taken on a massive vessel. But this could be bad. If that thing comes into orbit and crash lands, it could take out an entire city. Amina doesn't understand. Her looking up as she's going to fly forwards into the air. Her making way further up into the air, hoping Izuku can handle that transformation. The Ultimatrix can do a lot, but even it must have limits. Right? Her gonna see the space station. As of right now, she's gonna try and think of a spell in her mind. It's gonna be a lot. but just keep herself centered. She's had time to deal with this, time to focus. Now is not the time to second guess herself. Her being to pull with mana as she'll bring her hands up and okay, stop the station in the air. Her going to begin to put more force into it as she's trying to push the station back into proper orbit. And Malware does feel this. The station was already going down. It was already like a Jenga tower. But something is now holding it up. And he can feel it being forced back into place. Though Malware does mean to increase the jets as Mina does still stand there. As Bakugo and Kai, the two are trying to get the city evacuated. But whenever Vilgax began to grow, the plumbers issued a state of emergency. And there currently is Izuku, who does bring his hands up as he does it'll wave them through the air. Vilgax charging forwards. Currently Deku going to have the tendrils shoot out as Vilgax does get wrapped up in them. Currently him being tied there as he does try to break free. And Deku, he is trying to think more about this. He's in a heightened emotional state. His power feels like it's limitless. He can feel everything, feel all the energy in the world. And that makes him worried. He can feel emotions, fear, terror. And Vilgax has a plan. His plan is to take Alien X's power. And this, it's bad. It's really, really bad. Because if he can get it, he'll try to destroy the universe. And Izuku, he doesn't bring his hands up. Him going to look up in the air as he doesn't try and think. Him flying backwards as to let loose a lot of mana. And Vilgax, he is immediately covered by a massive flash. And Mina does get a turn. Her going to still hold the station in the air as she's going to feel an immense amount of energy completely shift magic. Her turning. And right now there is the massive glow. It alarming her. As she's to turn back and focus on this. And there's Vilgax, who currently was sent packing with that attack. Him smashing down onto the ground as he does go to lay there for a second. And Deku, he has a fly down, bringing his hand down and raising to his fingers. Vilgax being pulled up into the air, and Deku watching. Him still in one piece. And the man, he does a look back up at Izuku. Him expressing, it's going to take a lot more than that. Him raising his hand and going to shift gravity. And Deku, he does still fly there. Vilgax is trying to use gravity against him. But Deku, he has to pull his fingers in and pull Vilgax towards him. Deku holding his hand out and smashing it directly into Vilgax's throat. Before he does, begin to squeeze down, trying to inform Vilgax, this is not going to be how it ends. He will not take the Celestial Sapien. And the man is going to have his eyes widen. Deku bring up his hand as he does go to pull with more energy. And he does then going to clock Vilgax across the face. Before Vilgax, he has to take the mana imbued punch. And Deku, he does it continue punching, over and over and over. And there currently is Bakugo and Kai. The two, they were trying to help the plumbers. Right now the plumbers are trying to pick away and destroy that station. Mina is holding it up. However, that is a lot of energy and a lot of tons of steel about to bear down on their planet. If that comes down, it's going to cause problems. And Malware, he's not just going to let that go down easy. And there is currently Malware, who does absorb the entirety of the station. And he has begun to build proper things. Currently, this being where small chunks of the station, they do begin to explode. Parts of them begin to fall down to the planet as Mina does look up and see this. Her holding the station there as she does begin to feel the force lighten up slightly. Currently, the meteor shower pouring down with goo. And people, they are trying to open fire on these piles. They are trying to take it down, destroy it, make sure it does not touch down on the planet. If Malware can reform, that means he can do more. He can be more dangerous, more lethal, just more of a threat. This planet is under siege. And we do currently come back to Izuku, who did get a turn, throwing Vilgax as he does a bring his hands up and Vilgax is sent flying, stopping in the air as Deku hits a Dorky twist the man's body. And Vilgax does get to feel his spine immediately separate as he does have his body twist backwards. And Deku does stare at him before he does bring his hands up and begin to pull up and down. And Vilgax, he does feel the pain before he does try to focus on his abilities, focus on the powers he's gained. And this, it does mean quite a lot. Him going to turn and send out a blast at Izuku. And Deku, he does get to actually bring his hand up. Him going to stop the blast in the air as he has ascended upwards and still stare at Vilgax. Before just trying to think about the problem. Him turning his head and looking up, seeing the pieces of malware blasting down. One smashing down close to him. Him turning his attention from Vilgax to it. And Vilgax immediately does have his body twist back around. Deku, watching as he does, begin to melt into a goo and fly towards him. Deku bringing his hand up and battering it to the right with a wave. And the goo is sent flying because Izuku manipulates the gravity. Deku turning and bringing his hand up, for blasting at the malware duplicate and looking back up, seeing how bad everything is. And there currently is Bakugo, Kai, and the Plumbers, along with even the Tetraman and Incursion Armadas. They are trying to keep their distance and take pot shots at this massive thing. And there currently is where Luma, it does give an order, and a massive cannon does begin to charge up. It's blasting Deku out and smashing into the space station. It begins to explode as Mina does feel her grip on everything break. Her flying backwards and bringing her hands up. And Deku hears the sound. Turning his head and seeing the shockwave. Before Vilgax does come flying forwards and in. And Deku, he does feel Vilgax put his hand out, grabbing out at Deku. And Deku does begin to scream out. Currently, him going to rip apart and turn. Moving as Vilgax is bringing his hand up. Still trying to absorb the energy Deku is made out of. Him going to stare at Vilgax, bring his hand up and tapping onto the Ultimatrix. Before he does a turn back into regular Anodite and still be pulled in. Before Deku, he does at least let Vilgax pull him in. Him going to transform again as he's rocketing out, smashing one of his forearms into Vilgax. And Deku, he doesn't watch the man be sent flying backwards. Before Vilgax does stare at him, going to smile, expressing to the boy, ah yes, the Tetraman form. What? Got something against it? It is old. One of your strongest. Not anymore, it's not. I know your plan, jackass. I'm not letting you get it. Izuku's trying to think. Currently him bringing his fingers up to the Ultimatrix. He needs to kill Vilgax this time. But, right. Okay. It's gonna be close. Vilgax staring at Izuku. Before Deku is to watch him step forwards, and currently he has a run directly at Izuku. Deku being sent flying with a punch as he's rolling down the road. Izuku going to look back up and see Vilgax, who's a zoom up and skid to a stop. Him expressing, the Kid Acceleran, one of the fastest known entities in the universe. Quite the speed, quite the terrifying combo. And he will remind him, next time he does try to use that little trick, he'll come pouncing on him again. And Deku stares at him. Before he does, gonna think of one thing. Currently him gonna stand back up and rush forwards. Vilgax going to move and dodge the attacks. Currently him bringing his fist up and uppercutting Izuku. Before he's gonna throw another punch at Deku. Two of Deku's arms gonna block them as Vilgax does a throw out his hand and shoot it directly into Izuku's face. The goo covering it and beginning to try and pour into his mouth. And Deku, he doesn't feel this choking him. Before he is a think, Heat Blast. Currently, Vilgax ripping his hand away as Deku, he is pouring with fire. And he does try and reform and put this out. And Deku, he has a stare on. Currently, him watching as Vilgax's arm is beginning to dry out and crack. And that does tell Deku many things. Vilgax knows the powers, but he can't balance the weaknesses. If he's using a power, he has a weakness. Deku gonna transform, and Vilgax does a turn as parts of his arm do continue to fall, before they do begin to regenerate. And Deku does stand there. Right now him as Ultimate Heat Blast. And Vilgax does stir on. Currently Deku pouring with blue fire, as his body has also taken on a bit more of a metallic-like shape. And Deku, he does go to stir on, bringing his hands down and smashing Doki into the ground, as the ground is beginning to get covered with rocks that do begin to heat up, them pouring with steam as Deku does a throw his hands up and blast Doki up into Vilgax. Vilgax being hit by the hot magma. And as Deku, he is moving forwards, currently him melting into the ground as right now the Ultimatrix does a lay there on the ground, before Vilgax does have rocks and shards of it shoot upwards and try to attack. As Izuku, he has come barreling out and looking onto Vilgax's back, him wrapping around him as if he was lit open. And Vilgax does begin to scream. Deku expressing about how, if you can't handle the heat, get the fuck off his planet. And Vilgax, he has a turn intangible. Deku going to fall and smash back onto the ground. Before he does, gonna reform and stand there. Him looking up. And Vilgax does get stir on. Him going to land back on the ground and turn, thinking about what he should do, thinking about how he can attack the boy. He's pulling out that Ultimatrix, using these constant aliens. And Deku, he does go to do one thing. He does go to generate more and more heat. And Vilgax, he does still somewhat float there in the air. Before Deku, he does go to aim upwards and fire off the blast at Vilgax. Him going to sit there, as one of the blue flames, they do go to hit him. Him still intangible. However, he does begin to feel his body form solidly. And he is a lot more alarmed. Him looking down and finding that his body is drying. Though Izuku tries to tell him he can't avoid heat. And that it doesn't... something is off. Him going to turn solid and smash onto the ground. Before he does, think about what powers to use next. Currently him bringing his hands up and blasting at Izuku as he does use energy's power. And Deku, he does have a massive hole be shot directly into his chest as it'll burst apart. And this, it does make Vilgax smile, as currently Ultimate Heat Blast does go to lay there, in bits and pieces. His leg's still there, as Vilgax does a move forwards and think about his victory. Tear the Ultimatrix from the corpse. Win. And enjoy the victory. And there currently is the parts of Malware's army, which do begin to move in. The plumbers are blasting away at them and trying to take them on, as there's Izuku, who does go to reform his body and shoot himself at Vilgax, him covering the man's body as Vilgax is beginning to grow in size, him moving backwards and beginning to stomp through the city. As Izuku, whenever he does go to detach himself from Vilgax, he does go to look down, smashing to the ground and beginning to make it crack and break, all with increasing the heat. And Vilgax, whenever he does it to feel the massive amount of magma pour out of the ground and hit him, he does go to fall backwards to the ground. Before Izuku, he does a flap into the air, him transforming into another alien, as he's a fly forwards and think about what to do. Currently, this being where Vilgax does a bring up his massive hands and blast at Deku, and Deku does a bring his hands up and throw them to the side, as he is engulfed by the attack. And this, it does make Vilgax smile. Him going to hear the attack collide with a mountain in the distance and explode. As right now Deku, he has a stand there. Currently, him and his body full of more energy. And Deku, he does go to bring his hands up and blast all that back at Vilgax. As right now, he does sit there as Ultimate Chroma Stone. And Deku, he is flying forwards. Currently, him and his body made of nothing but red crystal. And Deku, he does stare at this, as Vilgax does lay there taking the attack. Deku staring on, and he does begin to shrink back down. He is exhausted, And this cannot continue. If it does, they will have problems. And we do currently cut over to Bakugo, Kai, and Melissa. All these three are in their own crafts, and they have been trying to swarm the area to take out what they can along with many of the other plumber vessels. All of them are trying to destroy malware. And currently Bakugo is firing the missile systems in his jet. Him talking about how he's pretty sure that makes 53, and there actually is Kai, who is in the turret system. Her firing at many of them below, as many of them are also beginning to morph together into massive creatures. And she does gonna make one blow apart. Before she does, gonna turn and fire at the supports of a building. It toppling over and smashing down into a malware. It's going to be engulfed as right now the fire does begin to spread onto it. And she does talk about it. If they morph together, does that still make them one? And there is currently Melissa. Melissa, she is firing off what she can directly into the areas, firebombing massive clusters of these creatures. And people, they shouldn't be here anymore. If there are more survivors, then that's going to put them in the line of fire. Their safest sheltering in place. Being outside is being in the middle of a goddamn war zone. That in her mind, as she currently does, going to feel something stick to her craft, and it does begin to inform her of multiple malfunctions. And Melissa does get a turn. Her beginning to see the craft swarm with the color red, as a malware does begin to form out of the ground. And just a turn, bring up her weapon and grabbing her grenades. Before she's gonna throw them out and they do explode. As Bakugo, he has a turn, bring up his comms, asking exactly what the hell that was. And Melissa's vehicle, it does a flying through the air and spinning. Before she's flying out of it with a jetpack. And she does talk about how she does need to pick up. This being where Bakugo, he has a turn, looking down and seeing something happening down there. Currently, him watching as a massive laser is fired out, and this does surprise him. Okay, so that's got to be Izuku, but what's going on now? Him pressing a button, radioing in, asking exactly if Deku is okay. Kinda busy at the moment. What now? Deku's staying there. Currently, him as Atomics. As Vilgax does a climb back to his feet and begin to glow with energy's ability. Him expressing to the boy about how it is futile. At the end of the day, malware will reign supreme. He will cover the entire planet after they are done with this one city. Once that happens, they will take the world. There's nothing he can do to stop it. And Deku stares at him. Before expressing, there's a lot he could do. Though if he does really want him to, well, he's going to have to pull out a bigger gun. And this is where Vilgax does start Izuku. Before, he has to transform directly into Clockwork. And he does get stand there. Bring his hands up as Vilgax, he does go to stand there. And Deku, he does go to stop time around Vilgax. Before he does begin to use his abilities. Him moving fast forwards and bringing his hands up. Before he does, going to start throwing jabs directly into Vilgax. And this, it doesn't make the Conqueror move at all. He's not flinching. And Deku, he does continue to throw blows. Before he's to unfreeze him around Vilgax, and he's a watch. Deku staying there 1 second. The next being in front of him as he's bombarded by attacks and sent flying. And Deku, he doesn't stare at that, before bringing his hand up and reversing time around Vilgax. Vilgax going to be brought back in front of him, as Deku, he does actually watch him fly back again with the inertia. And Deku stares at this. Him wondering a bit more about Clockwork's power, and what he could do with an ultimate form of it. Okay. Chrono Sapiens? Yeah. These things have a lot of ability. Okay, ultimate one would... No. Not an ultimate for this one. Maybe... No. Vilgax is trying to get Alien X's power. He hasn't gotten close enough. He's trying to be cautious, save that trick. But if he absorbs the powers Now, it's going to cause problems. Okay. He has a machine. That's what he has. He's just got to be more careful, right? He rebuilt that machine. And Deku, here's a stare on, watching Vilgax, thinking more about this, cautiously. And Vilgax, he does go to step forwards. Currently, him going to move forwards at Izuku. And Deku, here's a turn into gut rot. Before he does bring his hands up and begin to make a gas. And Vilgax, he is rushing at Izuku. Before he does a suck in a breath and begin to look around, covered in smoke. And Izuku, he does think. He's got to handle malware. He's got to handle a lot of this other stuff. Okay. How's everything going? They go turning away and asking them if they're able to handle the situation. Because he's got his hands full of Vilgax. We're fine right now. Not really. Bucko flying through the air. Sending out more missiles, and they do go blast into a building. It's toppling over as the plumbers do continue to fire. And there are the pieces of malware that are still in the atmosphere. The pieces that do remain orbitally locked thanks to the ship he absorbed, which does begin to charge up with a massive amount of power. And Bakugo is severely doubting their abilities. And expressing that they're pretty sure they've got a big gun up there. And Deku does look up, as he does think about what to do. If he leaves Vilgax here, he risks him running off. But if he doesn't, he risks malware destroying the entire city. Destroying the entire planet, potentially. Malware is unstable. Vilgax is even more unstable. The two working together is not good. Two fucking bulls in a china shop. Okay, which one's worse? They're hearing a sound before a massive blast is sent flying down. And Izuku, he does immediately turning to accelerate and running at a building, before he's to step up onto it and run fast up it, seeing the beam going to collide with the city. And Deku immediately does a leap outwards and run. Currently, him going to hear a lot, turning into Chroma Stone and taking the attack. Malware blasting directly down and into Izuku. And Deku, he does a smash down for bringing his hands up and setting it right back up at Malware. And people do watch a massive blast fire out. As Deku, he doesn't fall to one of his knees. Him feeling Chroma Stone's body cracking and breaking. And this isn't very good. Okay. Not good at all. Need to go, Ultimate. Him trying to think. Okay. He's got to have something. Okay, he just needs a second. Right. No. That won't work. Vilgax is a little busy hallucinating. So, maybe. Okay. Hopefully this can do something for him. Deku going to transform. Currently, him going to move and flying through the air. And currently there is Vilgax, who is looking around. Him wondering about what to do. And Deku, he does it appear. Him moving forwards as he smashes his fist out at Vilgax, who does a blast out at him. And Deku, he has a turn running back into the mist. Before Vilgax does it turn his head again. Him going to see Ultimate Swampfire move forwards. Him blasting out his fire as Vilgax does a move backwards. Him smashing into somebody as he turn and see Atomics blasting out at him. And this, it does alarm Vilgax. The humans multiplied. And this, it is not good. It is one of his fears. And Izuku, he does currently go to float there in the air. Him as an ultimate Galvan. Okay. So what he can do with this is simple. Bellicus and Serena are on good terms. I'm looking up. But then there's malware. Malware is sending many people down. Okay, so coordinated attacks and... No, that does still leave a gap. But a gap for what? This does not make sense. a full-on frontal assault, a sneak attack would have been a better strategy. But they're after Alien X. So what is happening here then? Okay, Izuku. Think. You have to think. What are you forgetting? What are you missing about the entire situation? What is wrong here? Okay. If he was going to formulate a plan to steal Alien X, how would he go about it? He could transform into it, but with him and Bellicus and Serena on better terms now, he could use it. He could make it work. But Vilgax does not know that. He doesn't know a thing about Alien X. So, by that logic, Vilgax should know Deku could pull it out immediately and just win. So why fight? Malware doesn't know a thing about it either. Presumably, if he does, then he knows very little. Okay. Yeah, no, nothing about this seems right. And the Ultimate Galvan does sit there, surrounded by a small force shield. And currently the mist does begin to clear up around the Conqueror. Him turning his head as he does go look around. And the visions of Izuku do begin to fade. Vilgax is going to turn, looking around to try and find out where the hell he went. And Vilgax, he does begin to try and focus. Currently, him going to have his eyes close, as he's trying to use the abilities of Wild Mutt. And Deku, he has a lot going through his head. Ideas and plans of what he would do if he was Vilgax. If he had possibly dozens of alien powers. But he's seen him cycle through a few. Something that can absorb energy, something that can produce fire like Heat Blast. He used... God, he's using a lot of his own power. Okay, but the one thing with intangibility, that wasn't Big Chill's ability, was it? Or the Lenopen ability? Those two contradicted. He can use multiple at once, but if the abilities don't match, they don't work properly. No. That's not it. There's something more to this. Vilgax is powerful. But is there a limit? Maybe not. Deku going to feel a punch. Before Vilgax does a send the ball, Deku's floating in, flying away. And Deku, he has a spin around. Currently him facing towards Vilgax as he does going to stare directly at Izuku. And Deku, he does try to think. Him going to transform back into Atomics. And wondering. Right now, if he can get him to transform or use another power he wants, he can probably use the counter to that ability, right? Maybe. But no. Gutrot's ability didn't last too long. Maybe he needs more? Maybe definitely more. Okay. So, what can he do now? This on Izuku's mind. And Deku, he does go to fly down. Before he does think. Currently transforming into Accelerate. And Vilgax is a stare on. Him going to begin to move forwards and zoom into Izuku. And Deku, he does immediately a quick change into Big Chill. Him blasting ice directly on the ground. And Vilgax, he does a slip on one of the ice cubes. Or if not, slip on the ice. Him being sent rocketing away after he is tumbling into the ground. And Deku, he doesn't confirm this. He didn't immediately fly. Him watching as Vilgax does a turn, made a blast out laser as Deku. And Deku, he does a transform into Vilgax's species. Currently, him blasting out laser eyes back at Vilgax. And Vilgax, he does a stand. As Deku and the man do go to stand there. Deku going to bend down and rush forwards, stepping off with his foot. And the two, they do go to move towards each other. Both of them throwing fists out and colliding. And their actions with a sound wave can be heard from a block away. And Deku, he has a stand there. Currently him at the apex of Vilgax's species. At the apex of strength for what this creature is. And Vilgax, he does begin to push Izuku more, push him further, take more power, let loose a bit more. And Deku, he is beginning to be pushed back. Him blasting out laser eyes, directing at Vilgax as he's going to do the exact same thing. Their beams going to collide and build into a small ball. And Izuku, he does think about what he can do now. If he lets that go, he can fire it back at him. Okay, so Chroma Stone. Deku blinking his eyes and transforming, as Vilgax does a blast that power back into Izuku. And Deku will go to bring his hands up, blasting it back out as Vilgax does a turn on the powers of energy. Him going to shoot it out at Izuku, and Deku, he does go to take the attack. The two pass the power back and forth as Deku, he does go to do one thing. Whenever he's transform into Chroma Stone, he does take the powerful shot and then to blast it back out. Vilgax sing it back out as Deku does a transform in feedback, taking the power and moving forwards. Him throwing his hands up as he has send his attack directly into Vilgax. And Vilgax, he does go to try and bring his hands up to absorb this energy. However, Izuku, he does go do one thing. He blasts it down into the ground and then goes to transform again. And Vilgax does a fall down into a crater. Currently, Deku going to transform back into Heat Blast as he does try to think about how this can go. And that currently is the group. They are still trying to pick off the pieces of malware. Before malware does do one thing. He activates the self-destruct on the station and begins to bleed off of it, allowing it to blow up and go further and further out of orbit. Now, debris has begun to fall from the sky, and people are yelling orders at each other to evacuate or evade. And people are also being informed, take it down. Take down everything that's falling and glows. If it's red, shoot it. If it's not, shoot it anyways. Make sure to be on the goddamn trigger finger. Now. And people, they do understand. And there is actually Zuko, who, whenever he does see a massive amount of debris flying down, he tries to think about what to do. The city is going to be destroyed. And this isn't good. Okay. He needs something. He just needs something. This on his mind. Deku turning and seeing Vilgax, who does a climb out of the smoking crater. And Deku, he does think. Okay, squid lift. Him flying up into the air as he's trying to get away. And Vilgax does a give chase, flying directly after Izuku. And Izuku, he has a turn. Currently, Vilgax throwing out his hand as is elongated Izuku. And Deku does watch diamond shards fly off of him. Vilgax trying to hit Izuku more, trying to just take him down. And Deku, he has to do one thing. He does go to transform directly into Big Chill. Him sucking in a breath as Vilgax does go to bring his hands up, creating a wall of fire as Deku, he immediately does go to turn into Spitter. Him spitting out goo at him as Vilgax is sent flying down towards the ground. And Deku, he does go to watch that. Before he has a transform and turn, a massive piece of debris flying directly at Izuku, as right now he does get transformed into the worst. Him thinking that this is the worst scenario possible. And the debris does going to hit Izuku. It flying down and smashing him directly into the ground, as more debris does smash down and begin to explode. And after a few minutes, everything does begin to settle down. People were hurt. In the station, they blast away what they could. There is currently Izuku, who does lay there under tons of rubble. And he does try to escape. Him thinking about the pain his body's in, before he does a transform and go intangible. Him flying through the debris and then to transform into a human. Him feeling exhausted. Not good. Really not good. Okay, but where's Vilgax? Where did he go? Deku going to bring his hand up, pulling his badge and going to communicate. Hello? This is Izuku Midoriya. Does anyone read him? Him hearing static, chatter. Something's wrong. Okay, the station coming down must have messed with communications. He's got to find people. No. Vilgax is the main priority. Okay, Where the hell is he? Deku going to transform before looking around. Currently, he doesn't stand as squid left, and he's trying to think about how this went, how he can't find him. No. Where did he go? Where the hell did he go? This on Izuku's mind. And Deku, he does get more annoyed. Him gonna finally feel Vegax's mind. Before he does, gonna bring his hand up. Him going to rip himself down and currently move forwards. Him going to throw his hand upwards as he does gonna rip the debris up into the air. And Malkax does begin to stand, as the goo around does continue to feed on his massive form. And Deku, he does a look up, seeing his situation. Malware and Vilgax. 2 for the price of 1. Shit. And Malgax does express about how combined they will take him down. They will take the Ultimatrix, and afterwards they will do what they will. They are undefeatable now. And Deku stares at that. Before, he does try to think about what to do. Alien X is a good option at this moment, especially because he's growing a lot. Him begin to tower above the city, and Vilgax does throw his fist down. Deku turning intangible and flying backwards through the air. As right now, he has a move. Him flying into the air and turning, thinking about going way big. Him going to transform and bringing his hands over his head. Smashing down his malware does get let out a massive blast. And Deku does send his own after he's smashed down and the two blasts to continue to collide. And Deku, he does go to stand there. He's gonna run out of stamina at some point. They both are. But now that he's with malware, shit. I've got to do something. Okay, no. He could try upgrade, but that won't work. He needs to overload malware. Okay. He needs to handle this in a different way. Okay, malware can't be overloaded. He just spew off the excess energy as an attack. Vilgax, he's unstoppable. Hang on a second. He's getting an idea. It's risky, but it'll take him a second. Deku radioing it, and trying to express to everybody about how he needs them all to concentrate fire directly on Vilgax. He has a plan. In this, it does get a lot of people's attention. Right now, a lot of people coming back to the battlefield and going to try and look for what they can. Certain crafts are looking for survivors. Certain crafts were also trying to make sure they can take care of what they can still in orbit. And Deku, he's asking them all to lead a frontal assault on malware and Vilgax. So that certainly is something. And currently Deku, he does a transform. Him running off accelerate as Malgax does begin to move. Him going to try to attempt to use accelerate's powers. However, this big massive beast does not think that's a good idea. And malware begins to contradict Vilgax, yelling at him about what that might do. That could potentially tear the planet apart, especially with the force they could produce. It would destroy a lot. And Vilgax does begin to yell back, telling malware about what he has planned for. He does not need the planet. He just needs the Ultimatrix. You still believe you need that device. Him being blasted in the back, and currently Bakugo's ship does a flying by. Before Mina does some flying up and blasting out the powers directly at malware's back. And this, it is going to cause him to move forwards. Him turning and making a send out blast directly through the air. And Deku, he has to stop. Before he has to transform directly into clockwork and try to think. Okay. Maybe he can give it a try. Clockwork has control of time. The flow of time. But no. It's like Grandpa said. Time will always catch up with you. It always will. Even the greatest people fall to it. So, he's getting a plan. If he does use Clockwork's power, age him to death? Maybe. Maybe. Or, no. He needs something more solid. Something more than that. That'll only take care of Vilgax. He needs something concrete. Maybe talk to Bellicus and Serena quickly. Use Alien X? That's such a stupid idea. But it might be what he needs to do. They need a machine to absorb it, right? So, okay. Here comes the big one, then. This is on Izuku's mind. And Deku does get turned rookie in Alien X. And Mina does get to feel that mana. Feel that presence. Turning her head as her eyes go to widen. Because Alien X is back in the land of the living. It's back in this reality. And Mina does that turn, screaming out with anti-power as she's a blast Melgax directly in the face. And you guys go moving backwards. Currently the creature moving off of Vilgax as the face can be seen. Him blasting out lasers directly at Mina. And Mina does a bring up her hands and redirect this attack at Malware. Her, currently, going to cast a spell as the attack is reversed. And it doesn't hit Vilgax, him careening backwards and turning his head. For being bombarded by an attack, Mina doesn't throw her hands up. Her going to buckle his legs as he's falling forwards. Mina, she does a fly up backwards into the air. Her going to charge her mana into a concentrated blast. For she does got to throw it upwards into the air and fire off the attack at Malgax. Her bring her hand up and going to focus more of her mana in her other hand. And begin to send out these powerful discs. Now, there is currently over with Izuku, who does begin to express. He needs both of their help. Please. He knows the last couple times he's been here, they've all been a little bit more, focused on the conversation, but he's requesting full control. Please. Really, Izuku? Is that what you wish for? Yes, I need it at the current moment. Serena? This is a lot to ask of us, Izuku. I know. Listen, I know it hasn't been a deal, but I've been checking in on you guys, stopping by. I'm asking for help. Please. You have to understand. Being here a lot terrifies me sometimes. I've been working through a lot, dealing with you guys. You guys are understanding more about life in the universe. This is important. This is the life of my planet. The life of my friends, my loved ones, my children. Don't you two understand that? No. Unfortunately, Izuku, we do not. Bellicus does not care. However, I, on the other hand, understand love and compassion. I am sensing your emotions, but they are extreme. I am willing to agree to give you full control. You cannot be serious. You want to give control to him. Bellicus, he has helped us much, has he not? Bellicus, I'll come by more. I promise. You guys have been using me as a tiebreaker. I've been cooperative. So I'm asking for you to be cooperative. In return for full control, I will stop by and visit you. If I can use Alien X's powers. What's the caveat? The fine print? Whenever I use those powers, you two cannot question me. And we can't skip any of the verdicts. We can't skip anything at all. Does that sound fair? Quite the enticing deal. But I did like the new system. Serena, the old system was better, in my opinion. But Bellicus, there was so much we got done with that. You can't seriously say going back to that old system would work best. We've been doing it for eons. And besides, he's the one who said we should change it back. Do we have to? Yes, we do. I preferred it. Besides, if we do that, we'll go back to the vote that you wanted to do. That I wanted to skip. Really? Unfortunately, yes. Oh, this is interesting. Well, where to begin? I suggest that we do this then. What we should do currently is, Serena, not now, not now, not now. I'm sorry, just not now. Do I have your cooperation? The two stare at Deku, and Deku does get a turn, looking at the screen and waiting for an answer. Worried. He can see the future playing out. Vilgax, taking down Earth, ripping apart his allies. If these two don't agree, this could be bad. Vilgax gaining control of Alien X and rewriting the world in his own image. And Deku, he has to say, making the world exactly how you want, that's a tempting offer. A nice tall glass of water. But it wouldn't be his world. The one he loves to live in. And the two, they do agree with Izuku. And there currently is Deku, who does go to fully look up and try to think about what to do. Since right now he is in the driver's seat. And Deku, he has to look down at his hands, finding he does have control. As he does begin to fly up into the air and go to move forwards. People hearing a sonic boom. And this, it does mean quite a bit, as Melgax does a spin and turn, destroying an entire armada of ships with a single blast. Many of them being sent flying to the ground and smashing down. And there actually is Romina, she was sent flying with the attack before smashing down and hitting the ground. And she has to find, right now when she does sit up, she feels fine. But how is she? Her turning her head, and currently in the hands of Alien X, as her eyes go wide. And Vilgax does a slight step backwards, him looking directly at Izuku as Deku turns his attention towards Vilgax, staring daggers at him. And Deku would bring his hands up, him putting one on her face, and she would get to hear the echoing voice. It's fine. He's back. Her asking what price he has to pay. What is it this time? What does he have to do for them? And Deku is a step forwards, him looking at Melgax, bring his hand up and thinking about what to do. There's so many ways he could do this. So many things he could do. Destroy him. Put him in prison. No. Vilgax does need to die. But he's doing this his way. He's doing this in a way that makes him aware of it. And currently Vilgax, he has it separated from Malware. And Malware, he does go to transform. His body is shifting around, changing. Before it does get a turn into a rectangle and then get a full limp on the ground. It still with the design. As Deku does a stare down. And Vilgax, he has to stand there and shrink. Before Deku does move forwards. Vilgax throwing his hand outwards and currently trying to throw something into Alien X. However, when it's going to try and touch his skin, it immediately does get to disintegrate. And Vilgax does a stare at that. He heard of celestial sapiens and knew they were in the Omnitrix. He knew they were powerful. The range of their abilities is said to be limitless. But that, him looking, throwing his fist out and smashing it directly in Alien X's face, means a lot. And Deku, he has to bring his hand up. Him grabbing Vilgax by the throat and firing himself into the sky. And everyone, they do watch these two leave the atmosphere. And Deku, he has to crash Vilgax directly through what remains of the space station. Him flying up through his ship and smashing him into it. For Deku, he does lean forwards and express to Vilgax, he's done. This will be their final brawl. He will fall, and he will die. Does he make That's clear. Deku turning to Earth. Before he does do one thing, he does begin to restore the damage. However, does to see everything, Izuku inside Alien X does a smile. They're all safe. Everyone's safe. His head craning back to Vilgax. And Vilgax, he does go to do one thing. He has to lean backwards further into the wall and bust it apart. Him going to turn and begin to do one thing. Him going to grab something and turning back to Deku. Deku throwing his hand up and Doki battering it away from Vilgax. It going to atomize as Vilgax does a turn watching that. Him stepping forwards and still trying to attack. Trying to do what he can. He must still have that power. He was saving it. Him throwing his hand out and Doki on Alien X. And nothing happens. Him pulling his hand back. Before, he has a move backwards in fear. The Osmosian's power. No. It's gone. He doesn't have it. He does not have that power. No. Him looking up at Deku and feeling raw fear. And Deku, he does go to step forwards. Vilgax going to move backwards as his leg is sliced off. Him falling backwards and smashed onto the ground. And Deku, he does go to watch. Vilgax tries to turn. Deku bring his hand up and freeze him in place. For Vilgax does begin to feel his body be shredded into, ripping apart. And Deku does go to watch on. Before Vilgax, he is being ripped apart, atom by atom, piece by piece, falling apart into bits. Blood on the floor. And Deku, he has a stare on. And Vilgax, he is to roll back over. Him sing a blast at Izuku. And Deku, he has to stand there. The blast bearing itself into his chest as he stares at Vilgax. Before Vilgax, he does go to watch Deku bring his hand down. Him setting on Vilgax's head as Vilgax, he does have his head disintegrate. Him falling backwards and laying onto the ground. What's left of his body does begin to somewhat twitch, and he has to stare at Izuku, staring at the being that killed him. Vilgax the Conqueror, conqueror of worlds, killer of billions, killed by a god. It's a worthy way to go. But in the end, he wishes he succeeded where he failed. He thought he was ready. Clearly not. He underestimated the boy. One final time. And Deku, here's a watch. Currently Vilgax going to continue to atomize. And Deku does get a turn. Bring his hand down as the ship, it does mean to move around him. Deku turning and going to watch. It's going to move towards the direction of the sun as Izuku, he does accelerate its movement, watching it bury itself into the star. And Deku, he does currently find himself on its surface. Before he does look back up towards Earth. Everything in his mind is clear. But did he turn out like himself? Did he do anything good? Did he do anything bad? Him turning and looking at all of it. Kyber the Hunter is still out there, hunting people down, hurting people. Dr. Psychobos. He is trying to rebuild the Omnitrix. The dog. It is still in Plumber custody. And Deku, he does currently have the watch manifest in his hand, staring at it as it does go to float into the air. And it does begin to atomize on the surface of the sun. The creature was a hunting dog. What did he call it? Zed? It was only doing what it was ordered to. It has been peaceful, less aggressive in their custody. It can be trained. And this is through Izuku's mind. Him staring up at Earth and thinking. He knows everything yet nothing at once. Unlimited power, unlimited thought. Him turning and currently going to walk back onto the area where everything is. And everyone, they do see Alien X manifest there and walking down the road. Before Deku does a turn to Mina, her staring at him as Deku does revert into a human, before stepping forwards and pulling her into a hug. And Mina does begin to cry, thinking about how terrified she was, thinking about everything, the fear she felt, the worry she had for him. She thought she lost him. She thought that this might have been goodbye. But Deku, he has a smile. Before he has a turn to Bakugo, expressing, "You know, he did fix his ship." "You serious?" "Yeah." I'm gonna turn, expressing to Melissa, He fixed hers too. "Thank you. See you around?" "Maybe. Though, it's definitely weird." "What is?" "Everything. You just fixed it all like that. What about malware? What about Vilgax? What about our friends?" "They're fine. They're gonna be okay. I left Vilgax in pieces." Bakugo's staring at Deku. And Deku, he does a turn. Him going to walk away. And right now, there is where people, they do begin to plan a lot. Statements need to be made. People are worried. Their worlds got ripped apart. And then they got put back together like that, within the snap of a finger. What was that? And Deku, he currently does go to announce a few things. Right now, him thinking of a lot. Deku, he does go to the meetings. He does tell them exactly what happened. He left malware inert. He made sure Vilgax was ripped to shreds before he chucked him into the sun. There's no way of coming back from that. There's nothing he could have done to survive. He watched him die. He confirmed it in a lot of the timelines he saw, the ones he decided to look into. If there was a sliver of a chance, it doesn't exist. No one can bring him back. And the plumbers, they do begin to announce this. Izuku Midoriya, savior of Earth once again. And a lot is beginning to happen. Deku continues to be a hero. He continues to grow. And a statue is put up of him today. Izuku, he's happy. He's watching the future unfold. And there is currently a few months later where Deku, he does go to stand. Right now, him in a fancy suit. As he does go to stand directly in front of a microphone and begin to express about how he's fairly certain he doesn't need any introduction. As everyone here tonight does know, he's Izuku. Just call him Izuku. He's had a lot of things happen in the last 6 months. He's buried with a lot of responsibility in his life. It seems like only a decade ago he got the Omnitrix. But it's felt like a lifetime. It's been a very long time. It's not going to be easy for him to say. It might be hard for some of them to hear. The universe sees him as a hero. He sees himself as a person, doing the right thing. He stopped the hybrid invasion, stopped Ghost Freak whenever he was 11. He's fought malware when he was 13 and 14. And he's gone on many journeys. It's been eventful. It's been nice. It's been a hell of a ride. He's not alone in this, though. Him turning, and currently somebody, they do come walking up to his side. Deku bring his hand up and wrapping it around Mina, expressing, this is his best friend, Mina Ashito. She's been by his side since he was a kid. She's been there with him for many battles. And he has a turn, pointing to somebody else on stage, as he's expressed that this is Bucko Katsuki, an old friend of his. Though he does use that term a bit loosely. They used to be enemies at one point. He has seen Bucko rehabilitate himself, and he's happy to announce he is an agent of the plumbers, somebody who has helped him and been by his side for a few years. They were once at odds, but he has redeemed himself. He does want people to be aware. Redemption is possible. Many things are possible. They're talking about a greater universe, a large universe, a big one. He's been around it. He's been everywhere around it. But he's happy that all of them could come here today. Happy that their planets could all know each other. And he does only have one message. He wishes for peace. He wishes for a world that one day may not need him, but he will be there to protect it anyways. It's a nice world. It's a beautiful one. And it's one he would like his children to live in. Be side by side with many other species. Be side by side with humanity. The project to terraform Mars, it's already going faster than expected. So if there's something that does happen on Mars, hey, he might stop by. He's been intrigued to visit it before. Though, that's another story. Then again, he also is aware of a lot. He wants to thank a lot of people for not only striving to try and be better, but joining the plumbers and walking side by side with other members of galactic species. They have done a lot. And that's really all you should say. That's all he has written down anyways. Some people begin to laugh. And Deku, he doesn't walk off stage and join the rest of the party. Though, he does have to head home. You can't leave those two alone very long. Especially because Eunice, she's got her hands full with both the kids. Now, there currently is years later with Izuku. Izuku, he currently has send Animo flying through the air. And Animo, he has a smash down and land. Him standing up and expressing about how he will have his revenge. And Deku, he has to express, no, he won't. Listen, he's gonna go ahead and make this quick, so don't feel so bad about it. Him turning into gut rot. And Deku does a rushing forwards, bringing his hands up. And Animo, he does go to have his air filter begin to soak up the smell. Him taking a whiff of it and thinking. Turning back to Izuku and talking about how simple lavender will not. I'm gonna fall forwards. And Deku, here's a zoom forwards, accelerate, and lower the man down. Make sure that his head case doesn't crack. He has a turn. Before turning his head and rushing over. Currently, him running back down the road and thinking about a lot of things. Moving at high speeds. Before he has to skid to a stop and then gonna stand there. Him looking around as he does, gonna bring his hand up. Okay, good. He got away with it. He dealt with Animo and no one saw him turning his head. Amina does stand there, bring her hands up, and walking over. For grabbing him by the ear, talking about it. Come on, really? He's working today of all days. Hey, stop it. Ow, that hurts. No. Her turning, bring her hand up and pointing it into his chest. Talking about how he's missing Kenny's birthday? I mean, come on. He wanted to spend some time with his dad. I know, I'm sorry. Listen, Mina, I was just gone for 5 minutes. Okay? That was all. 5 minutes, I swear. I just knocked him out and came back. You better. It's hard to be mad at you, though. I know, but I'm just trying to make the world better for them. I know. You make it hard to be mad at you sometimes, you know that? I mean, hey, it's part of my charm. You did fall in love with me, you know. Her bring her hand up before giving Izuku a kiss, talking about it. How would he make sure he doesn't miss his birthday today, though? How about this? She'll give everything over to the Galactic Enforcers for patrol, and right now, Izuku, her pressing a button, turning and muting the messages, takes some time off. Besides, if he is a good dad today, then, well, they might do a lot more. What does that mean? Oh, you know, I'm just saying, spend more time with your kids, Izuku. Otherwise, well, let's just say you might be in the doghouse. Ooh, really don't want that. Her walking over and expressing, it would definitely be bad, but as his best friend, she is going to be saying this. He did make a promise. Though, he should probably go talk to everyone else. You know, they already got some of their gifts, and, they don't want Kenny to be left out. Right. No, I know. But, I thought we were going to save those for their other birthdays. Might want to pull them out early. Otherwise, it might be showing a little bit of favoritism. Right, right. Fine. I just... I was going to wait till they all turned 10 before, you know? I know, Izuku. But seriously, there's not going to be a better time. You either wait or you spend more time with them. Ease up a little bit. You're getting a little too serious. You know I hate when you say that. Fine, fine. But you're teaching them how to handle the internet stuff. You're teaching them all the meditation. That's fair. Her gonna turn. And Deku, he currently does gonna step back into the room. Before Ken does get a turn, along with his brothers and sisters. All of them staring at their dad, as Deku tells Kenny. It's gonna be a little harder to explain. Dad, really? Deku looking around the room, and currently he does go to see everybody. He does go to see James, his son with Kendo, Aaliyah, his Tetraman daughter. He does go to see Kenny, his son, the one whose birthday he may have just stepped out for a second to deal with some business for. He does go see Sonia and Oliver, Eunice's twins. And he does get to see Victor, Atea's son. Deku expressing, looking around the room. Listen. He does apologize, but there's also another gift he does have to make up for everything. In fact, it's sort of a gift for all of them. So how about they all stand up and come over here? Them going to do so. And Deku, he does a turn. Currently, him looking at Bakugo as him and Kai do to stand there with their daughter. And he does at least express, bring his hand up and pressing a button on his hand. Currently, him going to send a message to him as he does go to get a message from his badge. Him looking at this message Izuku just sent over. And it's... Oh. What is it? You're gonna want to get your phone. Really? What's happening? You know that one thing he talked about? Next year? Next year? Deku going to look at all of his children. All 6 of them. Today is Ken's 9th birthday. he was going to wait till next year. However, he has a turn expressing to Eunice that right now, instead of cutting cake, how about she does get a roll in the last present? Deku going to bring his hand out from behind his back and telling Kenny, listen, this is going to be a lot of responsibility for a kid to handle. Him bending down, and he doesn't want to say it's a bad thing. Though, him bringing his hand up onto his son's shoulder, he's not going to get master control just yet. Sure, Dad, I'm not going to... Wait, master control? Wait, you mean like the stories you've talked about with the Ultimatrix? And that Omnitrix thing? Wait, are you giving me my own Ultimatrix? Uh, Not yet, son. The Ultimatrix is, let's just say, different than the rest. You're not exactly going to get one off the bat. I definitely want to say it's going to take a lot more time before I trust you guys with any of that. It's a lot more dangerous, you know? Dad, you're giving me an Omnitrix? Hey, that's no fair. Currently, Deku going to watch Oliver step forwards, talking about it. He's already 10. Why don't they give them Omnitrixes? So you're going to express. That's not... What? So, he gets one? They're going to stand, turning to the table behind him, expressing. He doesn't want to pick favorites. And Eunice doesn't have the orb open up, it revealing more Omnitrixes. And Deku talks about it. All of them get one. Though, they're all labeled. And everyone does a step forwards. And Kenny needs to have the watch go onto his wrist. He has to stare at it. It's so cool. That's so... Him stepping forwards and going to hug his dad. And Deku, he does a stare at this. Him going to bring his hands down and pat his son on the head. Before expressing. Okay, so we should go over everything. All of them going to stand there with the Omnitrixes. It's going to be hard for them to all handle at first. He knows his first time transforming was definitely, weird. So, he wants Aaliyah to know something. Because she's half Tetraman and half human, she can't go full Tetraman. So that transformation's been replaced with Champion. It's another transformation that's highly strong. It's the same species as Volcanus. Though, he also did give her Humongosaur. That one, he's a bit more worried about her having. They all have Stingfly. They all do have, well, Brainstorm. He gave them all Big Chill because that one's important. And, well, the other aliens, he might let them all pick. But he wants them all to know. None of them have access to the Anodite transformation yet. None of them are getting Atomics. None of them are getting Alien X. What? Dad. Up. No buts. Bellicus and Serena, they might like to meet all of you one day. But I don't think it's a good idea for all of you to be there at the same time. They definitely would not like that. They like visitors, but not sure how many. But, okay, what about Chromastone? I'll give you that one for free, Kenny. What about Topic? Oliver turning to his sister. Really? Why do you want that creepy one? Come on. You gotta give it something, though. He looks so weird. Plus, if it can scare you, no one's gonna fall in to fight you. That's fair. But if you want to go for real creepy, what about Ghost Freak? Both of you stop. Aaliyah gonna turn, talking about it, bring up her Omnitrix. Clearly, they're forgetting about something better than that. Why go scary when you can go for awesome? Really? And which one do you think is better? Are you kidding? Gravitack. Think about it. You control every element of what your opponent's doing. And if they can't fly, they can't attack you. You control the battlefield. Simple as that. Instant win. Come on. Currently, James gonna turn. Talking about it. currently bringing up the Omnitrix and going to slam down on the dial. Him transforming into Accelerate. They're all forgetting that speed is key. They're all forgetting that whenever you're faster than everyone else, no one can touch you or hit you. Besides, I'm going to run over. Currently going to push Aaliyah over. Her having her 4 hands move to the ground. Her turning as it express. She's it! I'm going to turn and run off. And everyone, they do begin to transform. Them all going to turn into Accelerates and run off. And Aaliyah does a turn asking her dad about one other transformation. Since, what about, well, you know, Heat Blast? It's in your Omnitrix. Cool. Thank you. You're the best dad ever. Her gonna turn, transform, accelerate, and gonna run off. And Deku, he does go to bring his hand up, since he forgot to tell all of them about the time limit. Well, he did extend it from his own, so they should be fine. Then again, if he's gonna be a good dad, he should get in on this. Bringing his hand up to his Omnitrix, turning and looking at everybody, talking about how they might be a bit late for cutting the cake. Amina does this little nod, talking about it. How about they come home a little bit soon? Also, no crime fighting. I can't promise anything. If they're all out there running around treating it like a bit of a toy right now, they might just step in. So I better get going to supervise. Him going to transform. As he does, going to turn and zoom away. And everyone, they do still stand there. As right now, we have Bakugo's daughter, Lexi, who she does feel a little bit left out. I mean, she is a year younger than Kenny. However, they all talked about going out on the boards. And right now, she does feel a little, well, isolated from all this. And that does kinda suck. And there actually is where Ken does come running back in. Him looking back around as he is to see Lexi. Him zooming over as Accelerate. Talking about it. Hey! Hey! So, were you gonna play? Don't move as fast. Him holding out his hand as she has a look down at it. Her looking towards her dad as Bakugo does give her a nod, telling her to be careful. Also, she might want to make sure he's not it first. Her gonna turn as she's gonna grab Kenny's hand and begin to absorb his power. Her taking on the form of a King Acceleran. As she does get to ask, so who's it? You are. Nah. I'm gonna turn and run off. And Lexi is a little annoyed. Before he does tell her she might want to catch up. Also, if he remembers correctly, those things break weird. So, be careful. She might slide. Also, avoid water and ice. Her gonna turn and zoom away. And there is Mina. Mina does stand there. Her happy. And there is the fact that Izuku, he's not taking it as seriously this time. This time around, time travel. It's a weird thing. But it worked. Kentaro's still alive. Mark is alive. They're on vacation. Old man's trying to enjoy the rest of his golden years. Though, honestly, he might outlive them all. This goes through Mina's mind. And right now she has a turn, focusing with her powers and seeing the scheme of tag. As Deku, he currently does try to instruct a few of the kids about how to properly run up the side of a building, especially because they might lose a little bit of speed, and if they do start to fall, it's not going to be fun. And Deku, he currently does a turn and demonstrate, before he has a run up it and begin to move backwards, him staring on at most of the kids. Him going to turn his head and see right now as 2 other people are running. And this, it does get Deku's attention. Him currently going to slide to a stop and then begin a run back down. Him going to gain his momentum as he has a leap and throw out his hands. Him going to channel them in air funnels before he has a quickly break and spin. Him telling the kids about how they might need to join back into the game, because it looks like they have a new player. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed, and have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next series. And that does bring this one to a close. I'll be honest, this one was a lot of fun. Plus, I got to go through the old series, go through everything about it. The only series I didn't go through was the reboot franchise for Ben 10. I'm so disappointed they try and do that whole joking thing every few seconds. At least I think they do. They just don't take the series as serious anymore. It definitely makes me feel a little bit old. But yeah, this one was a very fun series, and I'm happy I got a chance to do it. And with that being said, that does bring this one to a close.